Okay, so we're going to look over here. I had this is the sheet, but we're going to show it to you afterwards on here on the thing. But I first want to get started a little bit. We this is the sixth class of 6 classes that we have here, right? The first class, to go quickly over, we did the pillars of the oral tradition. What is Mishnah and Talmud? Second class, we gave you like a timeline from the beginning of when Moses received the Torah till present day halacha, how it developed. And then in the third class, we gave you a little bit of a class on how to navigate a page of the Talmud, a daf gemara, a blat gemara. In the fourth class, we did a blat gemara, first page of the Talmud in Berachot. We learned about the mitzvah of Shema, and we learned about the debate between the Mishnah and then the argument between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim and Rabbi Gamliel. We saw how a debate unfolded, and then we saw how the Gemara took off where the Mishnah left off and asked, what's the source for this and the source for that? We saw how the Gemara worked. Then we see how Rashi worked. Rashi made a comment about the Gemara, and then Tosfos on the other side, he disagreed with Rashi. We went through that. That was the fourth class. Last week's class, we learned another piece of Gemara. This is more of Agadita, but it has many ramifications. We learned the Gemara in Mesechet Baba Metzia. And it was a whole section about the argument between the rabbis and how the majority of the rabbis went against Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer tried to prove that he was right. So he stopped the river, he made the walls crooked, he did all kinds of things, and then he even got God to agree to him. And at the end, the bottom line was that even though the heavens disagreed with the sages, at the end, it says that they paskined, everybody agreed to follow the majority, and afterwards they asked, what was Hashem saying? Hashem said, Natzchuni b'ni, Natzchuni, my children have beaten me in an argument. They're victorious, and Hashem was happy, right? And there we have the concept of Loi b'shamayim, that the Torah is not in heavens, it's down on earth, and we have sort of an autonomy within the context of Torah to develop Torah, and so to speak, the heavens and the angels, they all have to come in our direction. So even though sometimes, maybe even God himself sometimes is not, it seems like he disagrees logically. He says the logic is not, but you follow majority rule because that is the halach of Torah. So now I thought that was a powerful piece we learned last week. And it teaches us the strength of the halachic debate and how we can actually direct where Torah goes. And then we have this week, we're going to learn another very, very interesting piece of Gemara. Oh, welcome. Hey, come take a seat, balance the room a little bit. Come on this side. You want to say, you can sit with her. You can sit with her. Fine. Okay. So we're going to do a share screen now for you, gentlemen. So we'll be able to, you have your pages. If you have the photocopies, you look at the photocopies. If not, you'll see it. It's shortly going to show up here on the screen. Okay. Are we ready? Let's try the share screen and pray that it works out. Okay, share.
It's the 6th one. Is this the last class?
This is the last class, number 6. Yeah, of this series. It's not the last class. It's just Okay, somebody tell me if they can see it on the screen here. Yeah, can you guys see it on the screen? Someone unmute yourself and let me know that you can see it.
Yeah,
please.
we're good.
They're good. Okay, so you see the page. This is an interesting page in the Talmud, right? Well, what's different about this page? Anyone see what's so different about this page?
Well, it's talking about it's showing like the crowns that go.
Yeah, you see it's a whole bunch of calligraphy over here, right?
Yes.
Huh? You see the calligraphy on the page?
Yeah.
It shows up in the Tosfos. Also in Rashi, you see some kind of Big chet, yeah, big ches and Rashi, right?
Yeah.
In the Tosfos, you see big zayins, ches, zayins, right? We'll talk about that shortly. So just to see if you guys are with the program here, what tractate are we reading here now? Feel free to.
Menachos.
Menachos, right. What chapter of Menachos are we doing?
Shlosh.
Shalosh, Shlishi, yeah, right.
Yeah.
What's the name of the chapter?
Menachot.
Now, Menachot, that's the tractate, Menachot.
Oh,
So what's the tractate? What's the chapter called?
Chometz Rabbah.
Hakometz Rabbah, very good. The big comets, yeah. Hakometz Rabbah. Okay, so we know at least one thing we learned out of this class is what page are we on, by the way?
58.
58.
58.
That's good. But
That's the easy part.
But but really, this is page 29b. 29b. It's Baf Tes Amud Beis in Masechta Menachot. Menachot is a Masechta generally that speaks about different sacrifices. No, Menachot, Mincha. When they brought the carbon, one of the carbon was called the burnt sacrifice. That's called the carbon ola. And then primarily the sacrifices were from animals, but there also were sacrifices which were cakes. So that's called menachot. Menachot is a whole section about the different cakes that were brought as sacrifices to God. They brought a cake, and the way it worked was that the cake was brought onto the altar and was burnt, but they actually wouldn't burn the whole cake. You get to eat the cake. But the Kohen would take a little, with his 3 fingers, he would grab a piece from the cake, and then he would, with his thumb and pinky, rub off to the side, and then he'd take the piece between his 3 fingers and put it on the altar and burn it. That's how they brought that particular sacrifice. That's why the tractate is called, I'm just telling you this, because the tractate is called HaKoimetz. Koimetz is that act of taking the piece from it's called kmitza. Like like when you sacrifice an animal, it's called shchita. This is called kmitza. Kmitza is taking out the little piece of the cake with your 3 fingers and then rubbing on the side, and you put it on the altar. That's called, and that name of this chapter is Hakometz Rabbah, the big kmitza. Okay, anyways, that's sort of a sidebar, nothing to do with what we're going to learn today. I just wanted to show you what. Yeah, go ahead. Question. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. There's a parallel. For sure, there's parallel. Okay, now what we're looking at in today's section here. Give me a second there. I'm just going to stop the share for a moment. I just want to tell you a little bit about. You see over there. You see the different letters. Now, Masechta Menachot, in addition to speaking about sacrifices, for some reason, in that it goes off on a tangent, a very important tangent, about writing Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzahs. Okay, what's the name of the guy that writes the Torah, the Tefillin, and the Mezuzahs? What's the name of that person, special guy? It's called a Sofer Stam. That's the name of a scribe. A scribe is called Sofer. Sofer is a scribe. Stam. Why Stam? Stam, maybe because it's just Stam a Sofer. He's just a regular guy. Stam. No, but why is it called Sofer Stam? Stam is an abbreviation. Samach for Sefer Torah, Taf for Tefillin, and Mem for Mezuzot. So that's why they're always called Sofer Stam, because they write a Sefer Torah, Samach for Sefer, Taf for Tefillin, and Mem for Mezuzot. That's what a Sofer writes. So a Sofer, we need a Sofer in Judaism, very important, because without for the Sofer, we don't have a Sefer Torah, we don't have the Tefillin, we don't have Mezuzahs. We need the scribes, right? A very important job amongst the Jewish people is the scribes. But I want to tell you something about a Torah. If you ever look at a Torah or Tefillin and Mezuzahs for that matter too, you can see the Sefer Torah. There's a number of things that are missing in the Torah scroll. So the scribe writes the letters beautifully, right? But there's a few things that are missing. which need to be memorized. There's actually a few things that need memorized, and then there's other aspects of the letters that we don't really speak about, but they're quite important. So I want to speak about three other things that you need to know about the letters. So in Hebrew, all you have is the consonants, mostly, that appear in Hebrew, or in the Gemara for that matter. There's no vowels, right? So you could have a word like, I don't know, a word like Aleph, Beis, Aleph. It could either be Abba, or it could be Avo, I will come, right? Same three letters, right? Why? Because there's no vowels. You don't know how you're supposed to say it, right? So it's very, so if you want to read a Sefer Torah, a Torah scroll, you need to memorize the vowels. But how do we know what the vowels are? How do we know this? Maybe like there's some places in the Torah where one word means one thing and another word, if it's different vowels, it means something totally different. Like, I don't know, like a word like in the Torah, if it says, lo tirtzach, do not kill, right? So maybe it's Leah tirtzach, kill Leah, or whatever. I'm just saying, whatever. You don't know, because Leah, Lamed Aleph, Leah, could be Leah, right? Leah tirtzach, go knock out the Leah. But we know it's lo tirtzach. How do we know that? Because there is an oral tradition going back all the way to the days of Moses that tells us what the vowels are. When Moshe came down and he brought the Torah to the people, he told them, this is how God told me to read it. Moshe had a photographic memory. He told the people, look, this is how we read this scroll. It's read with these vowels. The vowels are not there. You need to know what the vowels are. There also is no punctuation. There's no commas. There's no stops, goes. So again, thou shalt not murder, right? So maybe thou shalt not is a period after the thou shalt not, a period, and then murder with an exclamation mark, right? So maybe thou shalt not murder. Or you have those that say thou shalt not, period, steal. Three exclamation marks, right? So how do we know what the punctuation is? Now in Jewish life, it's not just punctuation. There is a interesting punctuation that we have in the Chumash. There is punctuation. We see two dots. That means the end of the pasuk, right? A colon. That's that we see that in the Chumash. But there's no colon or semicolon or comma or exclamation mark in a Torah scroll. Again, the punctuation is passed down from Moses and Sinai. There's something else that's passed down from Moses and Sinai. So far we have vowels and we have punctuation. And then there's a third thing that we know that's passed down from Moses at Sinai, and that is the musical notes. You go into any shul in the world, there are identical cantillations, musical notes. In Yiddish, it's called trop. Trop. I don't know why it's called trop, but that's what they call it. As a kid, they just say you have to learn the trop. Yeah. Trop is musical notes. Musical notes, right? And the musical notes actually help to sort of give you the context. Sometimes you want to know that God is getting excited over there. So you have one of these pazer, right? Right? Sometimes they have a triple one. So you know that we're really getting excited over here in this section of the Torah, right? So there's a darga, there's a sphere, there's all kinds of trops, we call it, cantillation. Again, there are no cantillations in the Torah scroll, also from memory, and it's passed down from Moses at Sinai. But yet there is a fourth thing that I'm going to tell you about. Most people don't know much about. So people know about vowels, yeah. They know about the trop, yeah. Every bar mitzvah boy has to memorize the vowels and memorize the trop and also memorize the punctuation. But there's another thing that comes in all the letters of the Torah, many of the letters of the Torah, it's called the crowns.
Mhm.
And that's what you see, maybe a picture on your page over there. You see a little bit. Some of the letters of the Torah, there's an oral tradition that some of the letters of the Torah should have little like crowns. What's a crown? A crown like a little shin. It's almost like a three-pronged thing. You go look at the Torah scroll, you'll see certain letters have like a little crowns, beautiful calligraphy on top of the letters. Yeah.
Tarot cards. Does
Yeah.
it have any of these symbols on them?
No, it's terrible cards. Don't.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just so there is a thing called it's called the crowns. It's in Hebrew it's called keter Torah, right? The crowns on the Torah. But in Aramaic, it's known as tag, taf gimel. Tagim is a tag is a crown. So they are the crowns on certain letters of the Torah. So here in this particular section, it speaks to which letters have crown. There's also, how do we know which letter to put crown? Maybe we should put crowns on every single letter. No. There's only certain letters. We don't put a crown on a vav. We don't put a crown on a hey. It goes on certain letters, and I'm going to show you now on your page. You don't have to look at the whole section, but it's brought down, and there's a little hint to it to memorize it, and that's shatnez gets. Shatnez gets. It's like I don't know where that thing is. Shatnez, we all know shatnez is not to mix wool linen, but those letters, the letters of shatnez, gimel and tzaddik. Shatnez gets. Those are the letters that we have. So let me just show it to you again on the shared screen. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. So you see over here, I'm going to show you with the, you see in the Tosfos, you could see it over here. I'm going to show you over here. In the Tosfos talks about it. So you see,
Yeah.
shatnez gets. You see right over here. I'm going to show it to you if I get the arrow here. Remember that trick with the arrow? I'm going to find here. Here, right over here. You see, shatnez gets. You see that?
Yeah.
He's quoting really the Gemara. Yeah. So shatnez gets is. So you see the letter shin is the first letter of shatnez, right? And an ayin, the tes, on top of the tes they have the crowns, on top of the gimel, on top of the nun, and on top of the zayin. So these are the letters.
So these are the 5 letters. The
1,
only
2, 3,
5
4, 5, then gets.
gets.
That's so it's 7 letters that have a so if you give a look mushal, it seems like it's discussing the zayin. You see the zayin, there's 2 ways of doing it over that they
The
mentioned. Right?
last letter.
Yeah, see you see the Zion, just write down, go down to 3 lines. You see a big Zion. So different ways of doing it, and that's what Tosfos talks about. Whatever, but shatnez
Yeah,
gets. Okay,
this-
yeah. Okay, so that is the other aspect of all the letters of the Torah have to have vowels. We need to know the vowels. That's Moses and Sinai. We need to know the punctuation, Moses at Sinai. We need to know the cantillations, the trop, also Moses at Sinai. Plus, there also is a tradition of what letters you have to decorate. The decorate. Shatnez gets, those are the letters you decorate. Now, I'm going to tell you a beautiful piece of Gemara here. And you can look at the Hebrew, you can look at the English, and it's all about Moshe Rabbeinu when he came up to the heavens. He saw Hashem was writing those on his Torah scroll. He was placing crowns on the letters of the Torah. Okay. Yeah. So Moshe Rabbeinu came up to get the Torah. And he comes to Hashem and he asks Hashem, "Can you give me the Torah?" He says, "No, I have a few more little crowns to finish up." Okay? So he was like decorating. Hashem was decorating his Torah scroll. Chaim, Thank you. Yeah. So we're going to give a look over here. You see, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. Now you could look, if you want to look at the English, you could look at it too. Okay, I'm showing you the Hebrew, but maybe if you have the papers, you could look at the English at the side. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of a Rav, it's in the left column, when Moses ascended on high. It's a third paragraph on the left column. It's in English. English, yeah. Third paragraph, you see?
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Rav Yehuda.
That's it, right. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Rav. But I'm going to read it to you in the Hebrew, and you could look at the English to help you out a little. Okay. So now, what are we reading now? We're going to be reading now the piece in the middle of the page. What's the piece in the middle of the page called? Anybody? What's the piece in the middle of the page called?
The Mishnah.
No. Anybody there? Anybody on? Anybody listening? Hello?
The Gemara.
The Gemara. Okay, fine. What's on the right side of the Gemara? Over here? On this page?
Rashi.
No, on the right side of the Gemara.
No, Tosafos.
Because this is the back page. This is side 2, right? Rashi is always the one that's near the binding, right? So Rashi here is on our left side, maybe to the right side of the Gemara, but it's on our left side. Okay, Rashi on the right side. Okay, well, I'm showing you now the Gemara here. You see, Rabbi Yehuda. Let me see over here. Grab my pointer.
Where the English is.
Yeah, it's over here. You see, over here. Omar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda said, Omar Rav in the name of Rav. By the way, you find a lot of times in the Gemara, they always say someone said in the name of someone else.
Yeah.
This rabbi said, Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav. Rav is like he had a name. Rav, it's an interesting name also. Like he's like Rabbi. That was his name. So it's a famous rabbi. His name was Rav, and he always used to debate with Shmuel, Rav and Shmuel. So this is one of the famous generations of the Gemara. So Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav. Okay. So why is it always said? It says that if someone says something in the name of another rabbi or name of their teacher, Mevi Geula L'Olam. Gemara Megillah says that you bring redemption to the world if you mention who you heard it from. And if you don't mention it, you bring destruction. Why is that? First of all, it's very important to know what the source of things are, right? Where it came from.
Yeah.
Like, is it coming from somewhere reliable? Or you just made it up yourself, right? Another explanation is, which is brought the clear explanation is, that they always bring in the name of the other of a rabbi, because if you say something in your own name, then someone else is gonna say, okay, you say that, I say something else. But if you're saying it in the name of the famous rabbi, so if I'm going to debate with you and argue with you, and then you're not telling me where you heard this from, and then you're going to say to me, how could you argue with me on this? My rabbi said this. The great rabbi said it. So then you look silly, right? So before you embarrass somebody, chas v'sholom, you have to say where you heard it from. If
credibility.
but if you're saying it in your own name, then I have the right to disagree with you. But if you're saying it in the name of someone else, and it comes from a series of rabbis from previous generations, people might be a little bit more reluctant to argue with you on it, right? And if they did argue with you, and you didn't say it was from there, and then you're going to turn around and say, you can't argue with me on that. I heard it from this and this rabbi.
Yeah.
So now you feel embarrassed.
Yes.
So instead of embarrassing your peer, you're preempting it by saying where you heard it from.
Yeah.
So that's why it says you bring redemption, and if you don't say it, you bring embarrassment and destruction. Okay. So now let's learn the actual piece itself. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rab, again, when Moshe went up to the heavens. So he went up to the heavens, he went up to receive the Torah. And he asked Hashem, who is the Torah? We're waiting. The Jews are down there, they want to receive the Torah. So it says, Motze LaKadosh Baruch Hu, he found Hashem, Motze LaKadosh Baruch Hu, he found Hashem, Sheyoshev, that he's sitting, the Koshek Sarim, and he is placing crowns, la'oisius, on the letters. Okay, so what's God do? God says, wait a few more minutes. I have to put on shatnas gets, on those letters, on the shin, the ayin. He was putting on crowns. Amalufanda, so Moshe said to Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalom, tell me the truth. Mi ma'akev yodcha. Why you mi ma'akev? Rabbeinu Shalom is the abbreviation. You see, Amalufanda, he said to him, Rabbeinu Shalom. You see, Rabbeinu Shalom is this thing here. You see, H Beis Shin Ayin. Rabbeinu Shalom. See that? In English, the Hebrew, it's Master of the universe. Mi ma'akev yodcha. Who's holding you up from giving us the Torah? In other words, why are you making all these crowns? And because of that, we can't get the Torah. So Hashem said to him, this is very important. Adam echad yesh. There's one man. She'asid liyos, that's going to be in the future. B'sayif kamadaitis, after many generations, maybe like 1,000 years from now. And Akiva ben Yosef Shemoi, and Akiva, the son of Yosef, is his name. Famous Rabbi Akiva. So Hashem says, I'm holding up the Torah, I'm putting little crowns in honor of Rabbi Akiva. Why? She'osid, in the future, Lidrash, he's going to learn. Al kol koitz v'koitz, on every little point of the Torah, tilin, mounds and mounds, shel halachas of different laws. So Rabbi Akiva is going to derive from the little points of the Torah, every little letter. He's going to dissect it and take it apart, and he's going to teach based on every little dot of the Torah. He's going to create mounds and mounds of laws, many laws, all from every letter. So, in honor of Rabbi Akiva, I'm putting little crowns on top to show the greatness of Rabbi Akiva. Right? Are you following me, guys, online? Can you see what's going on over here? Guys, can you hear me?
All good.
All good. Okay, good. Now listen, Kif. Master of the universe. He said to him, Master of the universe. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, show me Rabbi Akiva. I want to see this Rabbi Akiva. Who is this guy? It's my Torah. Torah Tzivah Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. Who is this guy that's going to, create such a excitement in Torah? He's going to make mounds and mounds of laws coming from this little every dot of the Torah. So Rabbi Akiva was curious. He said to Hashem, please show him to me. And now we have what's brought in this Gemara, the perhaps where the movie Back to the Future comes from. The first time machine. So Hashem says to him, Amalai, he said to him, Chazoir la'acharecha. Just turn around. Want to see Rabbi Akiva? Turn around, you'll see him. Boom. He goes into a time machine, Rabbi Akiva, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu goes into a time machine, right? Halach, he goes, v'yoshev, and he sits down. Where does he sit? Suddenly he finds himself in the yeshiva of Rabbi Akiva. It's a big, massive study hall. There's no blackboard, but there's a big room. There are thousands of students in the room. And he found himself in the study hall of Rabbi Akiva. Because he asked Hashem for what did Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't ask Hashem for a lot. He says he just wants to see. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu all the crowns on the Torah are being placed there to sort of symbolically show the depth of Rabbi Akiva's teachings. So he wants to hear about it. Yes. So Hashem says, okay, you want to see him? Good. I'll give you your request. He sends him Chazor Lacharecha. If you see if is anyone following the English?
Yeah.
Yeah, Moses send that. Yeah. So turn thee around. Huh?
Yeah.
Gotta turn around. Okay. Halach v'yoshev. He went and he sat down. Beside Shemaina Shudas. At the end, there was a big, massive hall, and in the olden days, it used to be like the smartest students were in the front,
Right.
and like the dummies were in the back.
Wow.
You know, that's the way it was. And then you had to work your way up to get to the front of the study hall. So many years of study, but the ones that the newcomers would go back 8 rows. Like you had to go back.
So he
So Moshe Rabbeinu,
sat himself
came-
in the back.
he sat on
Yeah.
the back. He came into the study.
So he's
I
very
don't know if he
humble.
I don't know if he sat himself or he he sat down in the back of the 8 rows.
Okay.
Sat down the 8th row, like all the way in the back of the class.
Very humble.
Very humble. Yeah. Or maybe all these other seats were taken. So he got stuck taking the
Schlep
yeah,
a chair from
Except
the
the chair,
other room.
we had to take a chair for the other room. Why should have imagine? Why should have been? Yeah, okay. But it doesn't end there. The Yoshev b'seif Shmei the shooters. He sat back 8 rows, and Moshe Rabbeinu starts to listen to the class. And Rabbi Akiva is giving this big talk, and he's speaking about the Torah, deep concepts of the Torah. And students are asking questions. It's going back and forth, and it's a whole thing going on over there. I'm just adding a few things of my own in here. It doesn't say what I just said, but it's called reading between the lines. Okay? You're good guys with my reading between the lines, yeah. Behold, Moses in the back of the 8 lines, he has no idea what they're saying. Moshe Rabbeinu, the teacher of the Jewish people, the one who brought the Torah to the Jews,
Understood
he's
now.
listening to the Torah 1,000 years later, and he says, what's going on?
Wow.
In his mind, he's saying, what are they saying? Is this my Torah? Yeah. Right? He didn't know what's going on. Yeah. So there was such advanced knowledge of Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know what they were saying. So it says, Toshash Koichai. Toshash Koichai, he got a little depressed.
Ill at ease.
He was ill at ease. Yeah. Toshash Koichai, yeah, he was like depressed. You know, when you sit in the class, you don't know what's going on. In general, you get depressed. But you probably get more depressed when it's your book. That you don't know what the commentaries are saying about your book.
How did he know that it was preserved the way God gave it to him if he didn't understand what Rabbi
That was the question. That he had that
So he was in a
he had that
panic.
question too. He was also panicked. Like, well, what are they talking about over there?
This,
The big things that they're coming up with these great ideas. I never heard of it. Right? But then he's sitting around, he's downcast. Is this my Torah? I don't know what's going on. It's hard. It's yeah. So it says, Kivin Shagil Adava Echad. Then they reached one matter. Kivin Shagil, let me point again. Kivin Shagil Adava Echad. They reached one matter. Amalei Talmud. So the students of Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Akiva, yeah, they reached a certain question. Rabbi, Master, Menayallah, how do you know all this? Like, this is like brilliant stuff. Where do you know this whole thing from? So he responded, Rabbi Akiva responded to them. How do I know this? Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. I received it from Moses at Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu is like now in the back seat. He's all down and depressed. Suddenly he's pumping himself up. He's like, "Whoa, that's me! Hey, that's me, guys! Hello, everybody! That's me in the back row. You all know this because of me, Moses at Sinai. I have no idea what you guys are saying, but Rabbi Akiva says it's my Torah, right? So it says, Nisyash v'daite. So he was comforted. So this is an important piece over here. We have to understand. Well, let's discuss this a little bit. I'm going to close this sharing for a moment, and we could discuss this piece, and we're going to continue soon momentarily. We're going to do more. There's some very deep ideas that are going on under the surface. This sounds like a storybook here, right? Like a story, right? Moshe Rabbeinu goes in a time machine, and Hashem shows he wants to know who is this Rabbi Akiva, that the whole Torah is like God is placing little crowns for him. And then he goes to Rabbi Akiva's yeshiva, and he thinks he's going to understand what's going on, and he sits in the back row, on the 8th row, and lo and behold, he doesn't understand a word they're saying. And then one student asks, Rabbi Akiva, where do you know all this from? He says, where do I know it from? I know it from that guy in the 8th row. He didn't know he was there. I know it from Moshe at Sinai. I know it's all from Moses. So how do you guys understand this? Anybody have any thoughts on this? It sounds a little contradictory. I'm going to ask you a question, like, if Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't understand it, so what does it mean it's from Moshe at Sinai? How could something from Moshe come from Sinai if Moshe doesn't even understand it himself? So how do you understand? Anyone have a thought on this?
I think it means that Rabbi Akiva.
Okay, so we have an answer coming here from the live audience. From the live, we have the online, and we have the live audience. So one of the scholars, Joyce Bornstein, she's from the live audience, and she came. She took a seat. She paid for a seat at the David Letterman show. So she's live in the live audience. She's here. She's come. And so Joyce, speak up a little bit.
Well, I'm thinking the same thing as Rashi expounds on the Torah. So he's giving you a deeper meaning. He's clarifying. And I think this is what in turn Rabbi Akiva was doing. He was moving it forward again, expounding it even more. Right. So Moshe didn't understand all the expounding, but God is, Rabbi Akiva is saying, we took the root from Moshe, and we are going to expand it and develop it so you will understand it deeper.
So it's almost like this. Let's try to understand it. Either we could take it in old farming terms to say Moshe Rabbeinu, he brought down from God the seed, and in the seed was every potential of understanding that could possibly come from Torah was there with Moshe Rabbeinu when he received it from God. Those were the crowns, those were the little points, right? And then Moshe brought it down, and the people planted it, and it was discussed and developed over the generations. So maybe the guy that planted the seed, the farmer, has no idea what the orchard that he's created, but it was all implicit in that seed. It all was there before. There's nothing new. It all was in the seed that was being planted by the original farmer. That's an example from a farming perspective. But I'd like to give you an idea. It could be it was like today in a modern day thing. Maybe it was like the hard drive or something, right? Moshe Rabbeinu came. He brought down the hard drive, right? Whatever, right, for the computer. Or he brought whatever disk, whatever he brought down, right? With everything was in it, right? And he had it, and he was a faithful servant of God, and he brought it down, the whole computer, and then he put it into the computer, and then over time they found there's more stuff in this, there's more stuff in it. It was in the Torah, was the whole thing. It's Moshe's Torah. He brought it, and he explained it to the people on the external level. He told them how to use the disk, right? And then they put it in. And then suddenly things started to flower, but it's the Torah that Moshe was the faithful servant of God, and he brought the Torah, and he told the people the foundations of what was developed over time. And so it's very possible that Moshe Rabbeinu Taka didn't understand a word they were saying, but it was his, that he was the one that brought it to them. And that's what Rabbi Akiva said. This was in the Torah. And you could say, that's the symbolism that God is placing these little He's like implanting it in every letter, the crowns. The crowns are symbolic of the great teachings that will be developed in the later generations. It's there in a seed form, right? And if you look at the language of the Gemara, he said, Rabbi Akiva took every point of the Torah, every little crown, and he expounded it and created mounds and mounds of halacha from that little point. So that's the way to sort of understand it. And this is an important thing to say. Well, people ask, did Moses know every single thing that we studied today in yeshiva? We studied today at the classes and everything. He knew it on some level. He knew it from the prophetic. He knew it. He had it there. He had the whole thing, and when he brought it, it was all there. But did he know it on a conscious level? Did he articulate every idea in his thoughts? Not necessarily, but it was all there implicitly, and I think that's an important understanding that as it says in other places, that every novelty in Torah that any student will ever develop for all of time was part of what God gave to Moses at Sinai. That's what he's saying. It was all there. Okay, so everyone, if you're okay with it, give me a thumbs up with this idea. We're okay. We're okay with the idea. Yeah, thumbs up. Yeah. Any questions on this concept? Because we're moving a little bit further. It's all along the same lines. This is a very important piece of Gemara. I think it's like it's like a revolutionary piece to understand how this generation ties in with the understanding of Torah of previous generations. And the generations before, all the way back to Moses. It's one continuum, and it's one teaching that's just keeps on growing and beautifying.
And maybe it's very important to keep saying that it's the Torah of Moshe, so that we didn't deviate from what Hashem directly gave to him. We didn't deviate at all. We're just trying to understand it better.
Correct.
But it's still Moshe's Torah.
The same Torah was given to Moses at Sinai. Yeah, very good. So now let's continue with our piece of Gemara here. I'm going to continue the next piece in the English because I see Esther wants to see the English, so she's dying to see the English. So I'm going to open up. Just give me a second here. I'm going to share the English a little bit. Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
Right. There we go. So it's English a little bit because we did a little bit of the Hebrew, we did the Aramaic, and now we're going to do a little English. Okay, so here we go. Right, by Hebrew. Hello, English. There we go. Okay. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Show me the man," right? And he said, "Turn around," right? And so he went off with this time machine 1,000 years later, even more, to Rabbi from Moshe to Rabbi Akiva, right? Moshe lived in the year. Moshe Rabbeinu was in the year 2448 on the Hebrew calendar, and So Moshe Rabbeinu till the destruction of the temple was over 1,000 years or so, because there were two temples. It was 400 years each temple, right? So it's over that already is over 800 years. So and there was 300 years till the first temple was built. So we're talking about 1,200 years to Rabbi Akiva. So he went forward in the time machine 1,200 years, and he ended up in the 8th row, and he didn't understand. And then until someone said, this all comes from Moses' sign, then he was happy. Right? Okay. Thereupon he returned to the Holy One, blessed be he, right? He came back now, Moshe. You see that? Thereupon he returned to the Holy One, blessed be he. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In Hebrew, it's like an abbreviation of 5 letters. To the Holy One, blessed be he. And he said, Lord of the universe, Hashem, he's Moshe Rabbeinu, it says to Hashem, thou hast such a man, you have such a bright guy like Rabbi Akiva, and thou givest the Torah by me? Why do you give the Torah through me? Go give it better through Rabbi Akiva, right? He replied, "Be silent, for such is my decree." Hashem says, what do you understand these things? I decide who does what. He's like a very bright guy, but I want you to give the Torah and him to be the guy 1,200 years from now who's going to develop the Torah, expound the Torah. Yeah. Okay, be silent, for such is my decree. Okay, now comes the famous. This is also the next piece is a classic. Then said Moses, Lord of the universe, thou hast shown me his Torah. Show me his reward. You've shown me how great he is, this Rabbi Akiva, and I was blown away by what he taught. Show me his reward. He must have some kind of reward that God's going to give him for expounding the Torah. So Moshe asks for to see what's the end of Rabbi Akiva. What's going to be? It must be like he must be getting like a big honor, a big golden trophy or something. He must be getting the Oscars or something, right? So Hashem says to him, okay, we'll do the same thing. I'll show you. Want to see what the reward for Moses is? You asked for it. And don't forget, everything is my decree. So you asked for it, you're going to get it. So turn thee around, he says. He says, turn around, said he. Again, turn thee around is a buzzword for jump into the time machine and go back to the future, right? Turn thee around, said he. And Moses turned around and saw them weighing out his flesh at the market stalls.
What does that mean?
Rabbi Akiva, we all know the 10 martyrs
So that's
were
what the
murdered by the Romans. So he asked, what's going to be with Rabbi Akiva? What's his end? He says, here, look, this is what happens to Rabbi Akiva. You asked for it. I show you. Rabbi Akiva, we all know that he had one of the most horrific deaths of any one of the 10 martyrs. The Romans they had like these they have these like hooks that dig into your skin, and they ripped his skin off with the thing that they do for the animals placed on the market stalls. Yeah. So they schlepped his skin off, and it says when he got to the story goes that his students were standing next to him. Rabbi Akiva, we say that in the martyr prayer. They saw Rabbi Akiva suffering this most horrific death, and they asked Rabbi Akiva. They said, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi, what is this? So he says, my students. He says, my whole life I tried to observe the whole Torah, and the only mitzvah I could not resolve. It says you shall serve God with all your heart, all your soul, and even if they take your soul, even if they rip you apart, you should still believe in God. He says, now I have that opportunity. That's what it says in the martyr prayer, right? It says when the knives got to the place of his tefillin, he gave a shout out, Shema Yisrael, and he gave his soul back to his maker in heaven. So this over here, it's Bekitzer. It doesn't say it in great length, the whole story here, but if you look, maybe number 6 maybe has a little more. Yeah. Number 6. It's during the Hadrianic persecution. Yeah, it doesn't really say much over here. So let's go back over here. Let me see. I'm sorry, I forgot to show you the place with my pointer here. So what's the reward? The reward, you see what Rabbi Akiva got. So Rabbi Akiva turns to Hashem.
No, Moshe turns.
Sorry, Moshe turns to Hashem. Very good. Yeah. Lord of the universe, cried Moses. Such Torah and such a reward. Famous saying. Zu Torah, v'zu schara. The Holocaust, many people used to use this line. It's a famous line. Zu Torah. You have such Torah. V'zu schara. Why do the good suffer, the righteous suffer? A man who brought so much to the Torah, such a scholar, and this is what he gets. He replied, Hashem again said, be silent, for such is my decree. Many great scholars speak about this piece because it's a very hard piece to understand. But this is what
Because till today,
but you see,
we're questioning the same thing.
but you see an important thing. You see over here an important thing, that the Jewish way has always been to speak out to Hashem. And
Yeah.
I'm sure Moshe Rabbeinu, after God said, be silent, such is my decree, he accepted it. But he first asked the question.
Yeah.
He says, Hashem, Zu Torah v'zu schara, this is the
Yeah.
Torah, this is the reward he gets killed like an
Yeah.
animal on the market stalls, right? They raked his skin off. That was the language. It was like they raked his skin off. And Moshe Rabbeinu, he explodes. He says, Hashem, this is for such Torah, you get such a reward. Again, so the answer is, be silent, for such is my decree. Now this, by the way, this piece of it, you could sit and talk about it for weeks and weeks, because this is sort of it's an important understanding of all human suffering.
Yeah.
Hashem says, be silent, it's Hashem's decree.
Yeah.
You know, they have the story with I lost all the guys on the classes. You guys still there? Okay. You read a piece of Gemara like this, it's just very hard. It's hard to absorb. But this is a very famous piece of Gemara, and Eli Wiesel. Somebody said to him, Eli, you're one of the biggest scholars of the Holocaust. Maybe you could tell us, why did it happen? There were such fine people, righteous people. So obviously, you see over here, Hashem says this is, no human being had understanding. Eli Wiesel said it. No one asked him. He said, Eli, you're the biggest scholar of the Holocaust. Tell us. Maybe you could tell us. You have to ask them. Do you know the reason why this all happened? So Eli Wiesel says, yes, I do know the reason, but I'm not going to tell you, because if I tell you, I'll make you a Nazi. The guy was caught. Eli Wiesel says, I'm not going to tell you the reason for the Holocaust. I know the reason. He says, but I'm not going to tell you, because if I tell you, you'll become a Nazi. The guy says, what do you mean? Eli says like this. Hashem has explanations. He has reasons. Right? But if a human being, if you hear the reason, you'll suddenly say, oh, the Holocaust made sense. What our reason? Good reason. God's reason, right? And then you'll stop being sensitive to it. You'll be desensitized. You'll say, oh, it's such a good reason, right? So you'll accept it. He says, that's not a human being. A human being should never accept the Holocaust. The moment you're going to accept it, you're going to say it makes sense, you become a Nazi. That's a Nazi. A Nazi says, this is what it should be, right? This makes sense. People are suffering, murdering. No. A human being is not allowed to be given a reason for it, because the moment the human being has a reason for it, has an explanation for it, you can't empathize anymore. Because you say, it makes sense. Makes sense. That's not a good thing. Every person has to say, the Holocaust makes no sense. Why did Rabbi Akiva get killed? For God. Zu Torah v'zu schara, like Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem says, I'm not giving you the reason. Not that there's no reason, but as a human being, I can't give you the reason. Because if I give you the reason,
then you won't stand up.
You won't stand up for people. You won't stand up for humanity. I think it's a very deep understanding. It's from Eli Wiesel, this thought. But it's based on this Gemara in a way, I think. You could sort of read it into this Gemara.
Well, you can.
Because that's what it said. Moshe Rabbeinu says.
Gemara is
Huh?
what I think constantly when I see horrible situations.
Yeah.
I'm also beside myself.
Cold.
Like, what are you doing?
Right. So instead of, but Hashem, he didn't give Moshe Rabbeinu was the wisest of men. Rabbi Akiva, Hashem wouldn't give a reason. Stoik, keep quiet. Kach ol machshava. This, you always have to see it just that is the way it is. And not to try to learn explanations as to why Holocaust. Many people, unfortunately, a lot of times they try like to come up with reasons of why the Holocaust happened. Yeah, it's a great danger. Even an answer as good as saying that there would never be a state of Israel if not for the Holocaust still doesn't justify a Holocaust.
Yeah.
God in his infinite wisdom could have come up with many other ways to make a state of Israel. He didn't need to kill 6 million people to make a state of it, but people do say it a lot of times. I hear that from a lot of people, and it bugs me. I want to punch them.
Yeah.
You can't say that. People say that if not for, obviously, what God does sometimes is he coattails on historical things. So Hashem, you could say that he coattailed on a poor choice of people, that the people chose to be murderers, and then the Jews were in such a situation that God said, okay, now is my opportunity to use out that sympathy in the world for the Jews to create the state of Israel. But not chas v'shalom that God orchestrated in advance. So there should be a state of Israel. He got a Hitler. And then many other things. Other people also say, other kinds of explanations as to why God was angry at the Jews. Or God, what sin could the Jews have done? Such a bad sin that we deserve something so bad, such a bad punishment. Many other worse people than us, right? So, trying to justify the Holocaust is nothing. But I thought this Gemara is a pretty interesting piece of Gemara. Moshe Rabbeinu was shown Rabbi Akiva, and he said, "Is this the Torah? This is Chara." He challenges God, so to speak, and that's always been the Jewish way: is to challenge God. See, Moshe Rabbeinu challenges Hashem when Hashem wants to punish the people with the golden calf. Avrohom Avinu challenges God when he wants to destroy the stone. You see this sort of pattern throughout. At the end, they accept reluctantly what Hashem meets out, but because they're believers, right? And they accept what Hashem.
Avraham and Moshe, they kind of saw. They connected with God. It's not like us, the common Joe.
Yeah. So the common Joe is what can complain less or more.
Well, it's more understandable that the common Joe will complain and maybe will find it very difficult to accept, to be quiet, and that's my decree. It's harder for the common Joe.
Yeah. I saw an explanation of this Gemara. Shtoik, keep quiet. Kach ola b'machshava. This is what went not in Hashem's mind. It wasn't Hashem's idea. Kach ola b'machshava. Rabbi Akiva, you always said you wanted to do this last mitzvah of dying al kiddush Hashem. So keep quiet because it was your idea to start with. You wanted to die it out. You were asking. Be careful what you ask for. But so went up in the mind, not the divine mind, but the mind of Rabbi Akiva. Again, that's just a pshetel. It's not the simple meaning of, not the simple interpretation of this piece of Gemara. And then the next piece you see over there, Rabbi said there are 7 letters which require each 3 strokes, and they are, he says, Shin Ayin, Tes Nun Zayin Gimel, and and Tzaddik, yeah. Okay, that was what we spoke about before. But the main reason why, the point about human suffering and all that is an important piece. People speak about it a whole day, but I just want to go back to the first piece that we learned, which the reason why I brought you to this piece of Gemara today, because I think it gives us like sort of a very important foundation in the understanding of the development of Mishnah and Gemara, that, over the course of thousands of years, things develop and Torah develops. But we always say it's a Torah of Moshe, because the seed and the hard drive, or whatever you want to call it, was given to us by Moshe Rabbeinu. And all we've done over the years was we developed what was there already to start with, to the point that the author of the Torah might not even recognize the Torah. So here we put Moshe in place. Last week we put God in place, because Last week we said that even God can't interfere with what we're learning. Today we're saying Moshe Rabbeinu also, he might not even understand the Torah that we have today. But that is the development of Torah as it goes on generation to generation. But it always is part of that ongoing process, which is very important to appreciate and to understand that. So what might be today in a responsa where the rabbis are talking about what is the nature of electricity, which maybe thousands of years ago they didn't know what electricity was. The rabbis are now trying to understand whether when it says thou shalt not light a fire on the Sabbath, whether that applies to a Tesla. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu comes into the class, he doesn't know what a Tesla is, right? But he knows the principle. Understand what I'm saying? So that's what it means. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't understand. The rabbis would talk about what is the din of a Tesla. Moshe Rabbeinu knew that you can't light two Flintstones on Shabbos. You can't rub together and create a fire. But the way Torah is today, we don't really know. But it's Anyone have any questions on what we studied so far today? Any questions, anybody?
When is the next course?
When is the next course? Now I've made you all Talmudic scholars. By a show of hands, who wants to study more about Talmud? Like to learn more about Talmud?
I would.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll continue. We'll do another 6-week course
I guess we all want to.
Okay. So we'll do another 6-week course starting in mid-January. We'll start because now it's Hanukkah and this and that. So we'll start the mid-January.
Okay.
Probably like the 2nd week in January. People go away and this and that. And if you are in Florida or wherever, you can tune in from wherever you are. If you're on the Zoom,
Right.
probably be bored there, so even more. So, Plotkin's class.
So
What are we
Rabbi,
doing? What are we doing today? We're going to the beach, and then we're going to go to Rabbi Plotkin's class. So
Rabbi, you've been doing recordings of these sections, so how do we get them if we want to listen to anything that you?
the recordings, yeah, you go on to Chabad Markham, and you see on the bottom of the page the thing called YouTube.
Mhm.
Classes there. So go onto the YouTube, and some of them should be on already. I haven't checked if they're on. They're on. You look, yeah, go give a look at the YouTube. YouTube,
Okay.
You keep up your humor for the next class, right? You'll keep up your humor.
What's that?
Keep your humor up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Someone likes my jokes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Joyce has a question over here. One of the students in the live crowd, yeah.
has there been throughout all the Jewish history,
Right.
has anybody expounded on why these particular 7 letters?
No, that we don't know because it's like that's like a tradition from Moses at Sinai. We don't really know. We don't. I mean, maybe they have some reasons as to why these letters have something to them, but many other letters that it could be on.
Yeah, so that's why I'm
like why is it on a Zion and not on the Vav?
Yeah. We don't know.
It's Sinai. It's Moshe at Sinai. Yeah. It's Shatnez Getz.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
Neil Getz. That's his name. Neil Getz. And Shatnez, so you can't forget Shatnez Getz.
Yeah.
Okay, on my side,
Thank you,
it's a
Rabbi.
pleasure having you in this course.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Hope you'll join
Thank
us
you,
next.
Rabbi. Thanks a lot.
We'll send out a memo review on the YouTube, and we'll send out an email telling you when the next course is, all the information and the nature of that, because that's going to be like You're not anymore beginners. Now you're going to be Talmud intermediate.
Intermediate.
Yeah, sure. Ha, ha, that's a joke.
Okay, beginners too.
Yeah.
So that's more like it.
Okay,
Thank
very
you
good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Really
you.
deep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, you call.
Thank you.
So-